See if I can stave off the general exhaustion for this match.
Okay, I shall try my best.
Well, I gotta work on it too. I'm moving my sleep schedule forward right now into like early morning for me. Like 6:30 is when I'm getting up instead of 9, which is what it used to be.
Yeah.
So I'm just tired all the time right now.
I can imagine you are.
All right. Finally loaded in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to game number 1, our best of 3 series between TwodBack and Zorbaz. Zorbaz says he crashed, but he is in chat. We'll just... I don't know. We'll see what happens with all of that. Maybe he'll just want to play it out. Maybe he'll want to restart. Assuming we're going to be playing it out. Welcome, Morgan, joining us today once more. Good to have you back here. What are we looking at on this particular map?
It's generous for water. Yeah, I was going to say that scientific spot
A scavenger HQ has
about
been found.
the only decent spot that I'm actually seeing. Everything else looks a little bit sticky. I'm not too sure about the scavenger.
Yeah, the scavenger looks really questionable, especially considering there are underground nukes available this game. The scientific spot did feel like the powerhouse here. It went for 28,000. The question is, if you chose not to go with the scavenger, is there anything else even acceptable afterward?
Not really, I don't think. I mean, iron is just so tight. This appears to be just that one little patch with a scientist. Oh,
yeah.
There's some down south, so... But then you're looking expansive, which is always a tricky one to do in 1v1s, I feel.
Yeah, expansive can be a bit difficult in 1v1. EMPs, adrenaline boosts, mutinies available this game. It's an interesting one. Maybe the expansive was an option. It would have required buying up a ton of iron at the start of the game. But steel was expensive enough. I think you could get away with that, just dropping a couple steel mills, powering on through until you could get the iron flowing in. But, might be a rough one for Zorbaz this time around.
I have a bad feeling about it, I'll be honest. The scientist, I think, has just got too much of an edge. They've got the best position. They've got immunity, really, from the black market. I mean, he needs to nuke his aluminium out pretty sharpish, I would say. That would certainly help even it up a little bit. But
it would be a nice first step. I would agree with that in general.
I think Zorbaz is going to have to get every single possible edge that he can at the moment. I mean, he's already spied out, so I'm imagining we're going to see a
scavenger
nuke
HQ has
from
been upgraded.
There it is.
Right on to the carbon. No big surprise there, realistically. I was honestly quite surprised that Zorbaz, he picked up a goon squad at HQ1, which I don't think was a bad decision. This game in particular, worth noting, by the way, that there are spies available. But then the goon squad landed on the high aluminum, which I was quite surprised by in a lot of ways. It does make it resistant to the nuke, and if the aluminum gets nuked out, he's going to be safe, but he's so vulnerable with this carbon, has to actually commit 2 more claims to carbon for the time being.
That's it. There's no additional claims on the black market, so I mean, scavengers struggle for claims as it is, so it's going to be an uphill battle for him at the moment, I'm thinking. I mean, I can see why he put it on the aluminium, because the price is so high and the need is so great early doors, but unless he can force maybe TwodBack into some kind of debt situation, it's... Oh dear, he's just compounded the issue, I'm afraid, by putting these chemical labs down.
Chem labs. Yeah, I don't hate it quite as much as I should. For one thing, there is a carbon surplus going on right now, which just makes everything even more ridiculous. And then chemicals did start the game reasonably valuable. There is one laboratory down, putting a little pressure on these. And maybe a bit more than that. There's just nothing else you really have access to just yet.
Yeah,
except for perhaps power.
Yeah, power I think has got to be his main focus. But again, he's going to be using carbon for those wind turbines, using carbon for his labs. He'll be okay to get to HQ level 3, but moving forward from there, I don't really see an easy path for him at the moment.
No, things are looking quite difficult for Zorbaz heading forward. TwodBack has the glass he requires to upgrade. Upgrades are a little bit expensive for him, in particular because of the aluminum situation right now. I do wonder if Zorbaz... The Goon Squad I didn't completely hate. It was worth noting there were additional carbons next to him. He took ones adjacent initially, so at least he can still use those tiles, and the nuke wasn't absolutely devastating. But what I would have really loved to see I think, is actually a mutiny on this aluminum. You take this aluminum away, especially after gooning your own aluminum, then you're set for the game, and your opponent, he's slowed down so much as long as you can resist the temptation to sell that down.
That's it. I mean, TwodBack's got a difficult situation because he's not really making money anywhere. And like you say, if he can, Zorbaz could sort of get the aluminium situation sorted out.
A scavenger HQ has been
that would give
upgraded.
a little edge, but I mean, again, scavenger upgrading after the scientific is. Oh, I kind of like this move from TwodBack, putting that wind turbine there, blocking off any kind of access.
That is so infuriating as Zorbaz. I mean, and it is completely blocked. Cliffs on either side of the wind turbine. Not a move I would have expected, but one that I definitely like.
Oh yeah, indeed, because now Zorbaz has got to focus putting his claims on the western side of his property, and of course the EMPs now can quite easily come and be very, very effective.
I do wonder if wind turbines were truly the correct call, though. It is kind of a fair point that your opponent's a little light on carbon for now, but he can always transition back into it, as he is. Get away from these chem refineries. Maybe even that encourages him to move into reactors. And you've paid a very, very high price for what are, it must be said, only a couple of moderate, by definition, moderate wind turbines.
Yeah, I don't hate it hugely, because he has pushed the price of carbon up, which is going to slow Zorbaz down, even though he's pulling in 4 carbon per second, so it'll make some...
Yeah, he's able to pretty easily transition into a fair amount. I don't know.
Interesting. It'd be interesting to see how that works out. On the face of
And
it,
the other thing is that silicon is $10. It would have been very, very simple to just put a couple of solar panels there. You get basically the same effect. I do wonder if that would have been the correct decision in this game.
I think you're probably right, because you're taking carbon away from your upgrades. You're short of carbon anyway, so spending them on the turbines is possibly not the greatest idea.
Interesting magnetic storm coming in there. Zorbaz just hitting what he can. I do imagine that picked up a couple of shipments from these reactors in particular, so likely extremely valuable. It does look like one of them sent fuel very recently.
Yeah, it's good move. It's nice to see the magnetic storms getting a bit more use. TwodBack takes the geothermal, which is not a bad move. Price of steel's reasonable. You can get a nice cheap geothermal plant down there and cover some of his power costs.
Yeah, also, TwodBack has been very heavily focusing on getting these mutinies out, which is making the wind turbines work a little bit better. He's getting this added adjacency bonus on both his own wind turbines and the ones he mutinied away. Going to take one of those away is Zorbaz, but still worked out okay for a little while, having the wind turbines there instead of the solar panels.
Yeah, but like you said, silicon was so cheap, maybe that would have been the better move. Hopefully we'll see a mutiny on this undefended geotherm. That would certainly help Zorbaz out a lot more than mutiny in those wind turbines. We'll have to see. Mutinies are increasing in price. I imagine TwodBack's going to look to get a good
The black market is online.
Perhaps do something with adrenaline boosts. I mean, adrenaline boosted, well, power's dropping, so...
A scavenger HQ has been upgraded.
Alright, there we go. Zorbaz, he's going to manage to push up to 4, despite his small bits of carbon difficulties. And carbon's still actually pretty darn expensive, so not running much of a surplus at the moment, only 53 in the stockpile. Might still have a bit of trouble getting to 5, but and making use of this upgraded 4. But at least he seems to have caught up to his scientific opponent.
He's done a lot better than perhaps I thought he would. I mean, he's moving into some glass now, which is going to be a good move for him, but it's going to be important for him to get a source of silicon. TwodBack already claiming 2 silicon tiles there, which... Whether he's going to move into glass...
It is glass, is what we're going to see there.
Again, very vulnerable here to magnetic storms.
Yeah, this almost cries out for teleportation, because not only can you hit the glass on the way out, you can pick up some of the oxygen on the way in, reset the timer on those glass kiln productions. It's very vulnerable to me, and especially when combined with an EMP to force the glass shipment and then magnetic storming all 3 shipments at once, that could end up being quite devastating unless we see teleportation in this game.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure TwodBack's going to be moving into a patent lab at some point soon. Certainly, I was playing
You
a few
shouldn't
practice
buy
games
this
with
and
him
use it on
yesterday,
an
and
enemy. That
he
would
was
be
very, very
mean.
hot on the patents, which definitely worked to his advantage. And of course, Scientific having the quick patent labs, it's silly not to move into them. And to be honest, TwodBack desperately needs teleportation. With the magnetic storms on the black markets, there's just no other real option for him.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Teleportation looking very, very crucial this game. Worth noting, of course, for people who might not be aware,
Sold.
patents are half price in 1v1 games, making them more viable than they used to be. Typically, you'd see them passed up a lot because 1v1 game is so tight you couldn't afford those 80 chemicals, in particular for the high-end patents. But these days, you're a lot more likely to see them.
black market
Zorbaz
is open
is
for
going to be our
business.
first player moving into a patent lab. He's about halfway done with it right now. I do wonder if he goons and adrenaline boost this, he might have a decent opportunity to take teleportation away from the scientist this game, and suddenly things would get very interesting at that point.
I think he needs to, because at least you say patents are so important now. They really give you the edge against your opponent. If you can pick up a couple of 3 or 4 key patents, then it's easy. It's
Another thing to consider this game, though, is the opportunity to pick up slant drilling, which would force every last one of these carbon tiles to be nuked. Just a single goon would be enough at that point to really stop Zorbaz from leaking too much carbon. And the one thing that I would recommend against most of the time when you put down a patent lab is leaving it sitting around doing nothing. So hopefully we'll see a resolution to that very soon.
I think you're right. I mean, if he doesn't get it moved teleportation, then it's going to be a close race. It's going to be a very close race. I would almost say that 2DBack's going to be getting teleportation a little bit before.
Now, adrenaline boosts are available here, but Zorbaz just recently picked up an EMP. That should secure teleportation for TwodBack.
Yeah, I think he needs to get a spy down on that patent lab so he can see exactly what's going on with it, and then he immediately needs to move into slant drilling. It would have been extremely nice if he could have boosted that patent lab and stolen teleportation away from the scientist, then moved in. Oh dear. Well,
Another nuke comes down. And unfortunately for Zorbaz, this patent lab is actually placed in arguably the worst possible location.
Yeah, well, he's
The
got
black market is online.
hardly any adjacency. I mean, I would stick my neck out and say it's game over now. I don't think that Zorbaz is going to have the carbon to do what he needs to do. It's teleportation.
Alright, TwodBack gets his teleportation. Carbon scrubbing is actually what Zorbaz goes for. That's the price
Local
of it.
union rep is available to the highest
That's
bidder.
an odd move, perhaps. Maybe it's, I don't know. It certainly will help him out, but he's going to need carbon to build things. I mean, unless he picks up maybe nanotech, he's going to have to pick up nanotech as well. Oh, and there's a race again. Carbon scrubbing is going to be done for TwodBack a good 30 seconds before Zorbaz even thinks about completing it.
Yeah, slowdown strike is very interesting here, though. 20,000 is what Zorbaz is going to pick that up for. Where's it going to go? It needs to go somewhere now.
Oh, it hasn't
on
gone
the
where it should have
glass.
gone.
We need this spy down. Posing patent lab, very, very obvious this game. There is no reason when you are competing with a scientist in particular for patents, you need to know what it is they're doing because they are going to flat out beat you in these races. Zorbaz, using none of the tools available to him to avoid that at this point, is going to punish him very, very hard this game.
Yeah, I mean, spies are 3,500 apiece. I mean, you can afford to get 2 or 3 of them and just litter your opponent's territory with them, just to see exactly what is going on over there. I mean, he's not gonna. Carbon scrubbing's gone for him. He's struggling. I mean, this patent. Well, chems are losing money.
The black market
He's
is
doing alright with
open for
electronics
business.
factories, but his water.
But still
food
costing
markets-
carbon.
Yep, it's still costing carbon, which he just hasn't got. He hasn't got a single carbon quarry down, which is a massive problem for him.
Huge problem. I mean, this patent lab, it's a great idea. He's going to have to get nanotech, and basically as soon as nanotech is picked up, if there's any hope for Zorbaz in this game, we're going to have to see a scrap out of it immediately back into these carbon tiles and maybe still an effort for slant drilling. Might have preferred to see slant drilling over nanotech in this particular case, but both of them do work out well. Oh no! TwodBack's in nanotech now.
Oh dear.
Yeah, he got the spy down. See, TwodBack's turned the tables and says, I'm just going to spy out whatever it is you're doing,
Yep.
and then I'm going to beat you to it every single time.
Well, he's going overthinking machines, which I don't think he needs to do. I don't think an off-world's going to be required to clean this game up.
I don't really know if it matters what TwodBack does from here, though. Zorbaz just can't compete.
No. Especially with carbon at $236 a piece. Even a basic transition is going to be so painful for him. If not impossible. Losing nanotech was really the final straw. Any slim hope he had was gone.
Yeah, it continues to just put down buildings that aren't going to be profitable. I think that even
The
maybe
black
finished
market
and
is
then was
online.
cancelled.
Mm-hmm.
How
And
could
so,
one refuse such a
oh well,
wonderful
the game
plot of
says,
land?
hey, take this carbon tile. This was another thing I was looking at with teleportation, was if teleportation had been picked up by Zorbaz, if he had gotten there either with an adrenaline boost in particular, or maybe just starting the patent a little earlier, there was the option to pick up this high carbon tile over here, much more resistant to nukes, maybe even could have gotten slant drilling to combo with it, and he would have been okay from there. But despite the fact that there were actually a myriad of tools available for Zorbaz to fix this carbon problem for himself, none of them were utilized. Not a single one. And so, not quite done correctly.
Beaten to every single patent that he needed to get to. TwodBack could have just let that carbon tile go, let Zorbaz take it, and the fuel, even with the price of carbon as it is, the fuel would have just killed
Would have
any
killed
kind
him
of
anyway.
profit,
Yeah.
Slant drilling now for TwodBack. I can't see the need for that apart from denial.
No, but it is a fantastic denial. I mean, I would pick it up just to deny my opponent, just in case anything got really weird. It also prevents slant drilling from auctioning off, another interesting thing to consider.
Yeah, I mean that's always typical, isn't it? The patent that you least want to always comes up every single time.
Yes, every single time. So a nice little pickup in some ways. TwodBack is, it looks like, going to go for the kill at this point. I don't know if he's going to quite pull it off with this adrenaline boost supporting Zorbaz, although Zorbaz continues to attempt to buy into TwodBack. And there's no way he's going to make that. So,
Well, there's little point, I think, defending himself.
yeah.
Start afresh with the next game, and I hope that the situation
The
doesn't
black
occur
market
again.
is open for business.
Yeah, hard-fought game for Zorbaz, but just not quite executing on the abnormal moves he would have had to make in order to turn that one in his favor. The opportunity was there, I think, especially with Adrenaline Boost and Spies both available,
Definitely.
but no real execution on them.
I mean, looking at the overview at the end, it tells a massive story. Biggest money sink was Carbon at $223,000, and he did make $75,000 on Carbon, but you can't be, if you're a scavenger, you can't be making money on Carbon. That's your upgrade.
Yeah.
Especially a game of this length. If it went longer, then fair enough, but yeah.
Good use of the nukes by TwodBack, though. Always good to nuke out your opponent if he is vulnerable in that fashion. Some players not always on top of that, so TwodBack very aggressive with it right from the start of the game. Works out very well for him.
Oh, indeed. I mean, once that scientific spot went, then it was going to be an uphill battle, whatever HQ type you took. But a scavenger, unfortunately, is quite vulnerable, and the amount of carbon on the map made scavenger a very hard HQ to start with. Would have much preferred maybe take a chance on perhaps a robot or some other HQ type and just try to power through in a different way. But
Yeah. I didn't mind the scavenger that much, as there were 4 carbon tiles nearby, even with all of them low. If you just claim all of them, it takes a long time for your opponent to get out nukes on every last one. But if it was going to be scavenger, it needed to be a little bit different from what we saw here.
I slightly disagree, because it's very, very difficult. There were no extra claims on the market, and as a scavenger, you need really at least 4.5 carbon a second to make it viable. Anything less, you're very, very much struggling. And putting 4 claims to carbon would be, well, that's a very bad use of claims when you need to, for scavenger to have every claim to be as efficient and as profitable as you possibly can.
It's fair, but I think one of the keys here was that there was the opportunity to have 2 of the claims adjacent. So yeah, it's 4 claims on carbon when it needs to be, but it doesn't have to stay that way.
Yeah, that's very true. If you approached it in a slightly different way, then you're absolutely right, it could have been workable.
We'll never know for sure, though, as we never got to see the expansive or the potential robot on the other iron, and the scavenger, well, just didn't quite